Hello and welcome to LaRosa Reads. I'm Denise LaRosa, and today I am thrilled to share with all of you all of the wonderful books that I read in July. Let's talk books. All right. I am so excited about sharing my July reads with all of you. I've been doing these wrap-ups for a while now, but there's something about this wrap-up that I've been looking forward to sharing. I don't know what it was about this month. It was just full of some big, amazing reads and also some duds, and I just want to talk about it. So let's get to it. Oh dear. The first book that I read in July was Quicksand by Nella Larson. This book, oh my gosh. So I tend to connect my reading experience with like where I was when I was reading, what I was doing, and sometimes that helps move the book along if I need help moving the book along. So I read this book while I was visiting my hometown in West Virginia, and I was looking forward to being at home with a good book, curled up in my mom's bed. Thanks, Mom, for letting me take over your room. And just having her cats nearby, sipping on some coffee. I was ready to live my best life. And this book, it just did not deliver. So Passing is Nella Larson's most well-known book. It is a novel that blew me away last year. It got 5 stars from me. The film adaptation was equally as amazing and well done and just exquisite. It was such a wonderful experience watching it. And so I was looking forward to reading Nella Larson's first novel, Quicksand. It is semi-autobiographical. We have a biracial woman who is a school teacher, and she is grappling with what it means to be biracial in America. And she's really running from herself. She really hasn't faced her own thoughts. She's responding to how the world is treating her and using that as a metric for what she does with her life, the choices she makes. She ends up moving around, doing different jobs. She even moved overseas with some of her white family members. And she is always miserable. And but when I say she's always miserable, she has moments where she thinks, oh, this is the answer. I'm happy now. Like, this is what I needed to do to find contentment within myself. And then she just is I'm not uncomfortable, but just very, what is the word I'm looking for? She's unsettled. That's not the word even, but she's just an unsettled person. And so she has a very fleeting moment of feeling some sense of contentment. And then it takes one little thing, that someone says, or an experience that she has, or an experience that she even observes. And then she's like, oh, this is not okay. I'm not happy with this. I need to do something to change my life. The ending was sad. I can appreciate and only imagine what it was like to be a biracial woman during this time in the 1920s. So I'm not being apathetic and saying that, she was whining she was just a whiner or having these emotions for no reason. She just wasn't seeking help in healthy ways. And, it was just hard to read. The writing was so detailed and so drawn out that even this thin book, it was just like, I just felt like we never moved past anything, which I think was the point, to show how this woman was just not able to move forward. Every time you thought she was going to move forward, she was just like pulled back. She pulled herself back. But it was just a slow burn and a drag. And you could tell it was her first novel. I say that with love. But she definitely ramped it up for Passing because the writing was just a little hard to bear. So That was Quicksand, my first read of July. This is the book that I have been itching to get my hands on, but yet every time I'd go to a bookstore, I just refused to purchase it until my oldest daughter said, "Mommy, you need to pick up this book right here, right now, at A New Chapter, one of my favorite independent bookstores." And so I did. I grabbed Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. And y'all, oh my God, it was a 5-star read for me. This book is told in satire. You've seen it, I'm sure, and maybe that's presumptuous of me to say, but it's been around on social media, right here on BookTube. So I still feel like I need to share a brief synopsis. So we have 2 authors. Athena is an Asian American author. She went to school with a white young woman by the name of Juniper, known as June or Junie. And she also was an aspiring author. And they go to grad school together. Juniper struggles. She gets the first novel published. It did not do well. However, Athena has just skyrocketed to success. She is the it woman of the publishing industry. And Junie's jaded. Like, she doesn't like it. And is very jealous, envious. She doesn't realize she is, but she totally is. And their friendship is a little shallow. But, it is what it is. So Athena just got a Netflix deal for one of her books and wants to celebrate with June. And they celebrate at a bar. They go to Athena's house or her apartment, and Athena dies. That is not a spoiler. It's in the synopsis. From there, Juniper ends up grabbing Athena's latest manuscript that no one but Juniper and Athena have seen. And long story short, she decides to shop it around as if it's her own manuscript. It's about Chinese laborers during World War II, I believe. And so it has a very Asian-centric storyline based on real events. And so there's a lot there. There is this idea of appropriation, this idea and conflict where June is saying, you know what, the it thing right now is to be a diverse author, an author of a diverse ethnicity, a member of a marginalized group. White authors like me aren't given the time of day. And so, of course, this is told through June's POV. She is awful. She's an awful human being. But Athena's not clean herself. And so she's seen as this wealthy, kind of arrogant person. And so there's some juxtaposition there, and it's satire. So some people were turned off by this, but I'm going to tell you guys, as someone who is a director of DEI, it was a satire, but it actually had a lot of reality, a lot of truth to it. These characters, of course, were exaggerated, but what I find interesting about this book is that depending upon your own lived experiences and your own identifiers, you're going to relate to it in different ways. Some people didn't get it. Some people wanted the characters to be more nuanced. Some people wanted June to grow and evolve and become a better person. And y'all, I got to tell you, that's not the reality for a lot of racist people. It's just not the reality. And so I think R.F. Kuang did a wonderful job of using satire to dig into some hard societal truths and also kind of do a dig towards the publishing industry, which I found to be brave of her, courageous, and for someone who is a book lover, quite intriguing. So I personally loved it. I highly recommend you check out Yellowface. I finally read The Wedding Party by Jasmine Guillory. I am so excited that I finally read the love story of Maddie and Theo. This is book 3 in the Wedding Date series. I have read books 1, 2, and 4. Now I can say I've read books 1 through 4, and I am super excited. This was an enemies to lovers trope. Although saying they were enemies is quite the stretch. They just were kind of annoyed by each other. They're both mutual friends of Alexa Monroe, and Alexa had set them up on a date years ago. It did not go well, and so they've been forced to kind of put up with each other at various events where they find themselves at the same place because of their friendship with Alexa. And things quickly turn for them when they are at a birthday party, and Theo needs a ride home, and Maddie gives him more than a ride home, if you know what I'm saying. They keep this hush-hush. They keep it secret because they don't want Alexa to get super worked up and like excited and hopeful that this is a legit thing. Also, Alexa is about to get married, and also both Maddie and Theo are in her wedding party. So they're keeping this on the low, and, romance ensues. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Very predictable. A comfort read. Jasmine Guillory, you delivered yet again. I had the opportunity to read Sing, Unburied, Sing by Jesmyn Ward. This book was loaned to me by a colleague, a dear work friend, and it is highly acclaimed, and I have to say rightfully so as far as Ward's writing is concerned. She is truly a gifted writer. It was so lyrical. Her writing was so lyrical. The story just had this flow to it that almost was musical, and I had great respect and appreciation for that. This was a buddy read between me and the wonderful, amazing Gloria Thompson. And I'll let Gloria share her thoughts. I'm going to share mine by saying, yikes, I didn't really like it. And let me tell you why. The descriptions of grotesque, vile occurrences were just constant and so detailed that it distracted me from the story in and of itself. The book opens with a very grotesque scene, and then it just continues and continues and continues. Every single page, and I'm not exaggerating, every single page was about vomiting. Someone wanting to vomit, somebody feeling like they're going to vomit, somebody actually vomiting, and I'd had enough. It was like, why are we talking about this so much? Also, there was supposed to be some magical realism. We had 2 ghosts in this story, and I thought they were going to play more of a role in the storyline, and I just felt like they kind of, pun intended, floated in and out with not a clear purpose until like the last 20 pages. The 2 ghosts were like fulfilling their purpose in the story, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. So, sorry. Just wasn't my thing. I do have her newest novel. I have an arc of that, and I'm hoping to have better luck. I love and respect her as an author. It just wasn't for me. But an author that is for me is Sharon G. Flake. I finally read her classic book, The Skin I'm In. And I have to tell you guys, she deserves our flowers, because there would not be The Hate U Give. There would not be an Angie Thomas, a Nick Stone, if it were not for Sharon Flake. This is a book that came out in 1998, and our main character is a dark-skinned teenage girl. I believe she's in 7th grade, and she gets teased relentlessly for her darker skin. She has a new teacher who is living with vitiligo, and so she has light splotches on her skin, so she too is different. And Malika, seeing this teacher move about the world with confidence despite how people view her and perceive her, is inspiring. Unbeknownst to Malika, she is a true teenager, and that she doesn't realize how this woman is having such a positive influence on her. And she being our main character, Malika, is struggling to try to fit in and sacrificing her own values in order to do so. A modern classic that deserves its place And I'm so thankful I read The Skin I'm In. Oh my Lord, y'all. I finally listened to Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, and I'm in love. I'm in love with the characters, I'm in love with the story, and I'm in love with Kennedy Ryan. I want to read every single book that woman has written. I am here for them all. Josiah and Yasmin were college lovers. They met in college. The romance was just fire. It was just electric from the very beginning. They end up, growing up together, going through hard times, living in this tiny 1-bedroom apartment, and then seeing their dreams come true with this restaurant, Grits, that they built up together. They're living in the suburbs of Atlanta with their 2 children, and you would think they had it all, but a tragic, heartbreaking, transformative, life-altering experience happens for them in their marriage that ends up tearing their marriage apart. They divorce, but yet they are married to this business and they have 2 children to raise, so they're co-parenting and they're coexisting together as best they can. But is their love over? Or is it? I'm not going to tell you. You got to listen or read the book yourself. What I will say is this book is steamy, but it's more than a steamy romance. This story has meat. It has so much richness to it. It covers loss. It covers mental and emotional health. It covers parenting, relationships, forgiveness. It is dynamic. It was a 5-star read for me. You're definitely going to hear me say this is one of my favorite books of the year, if not my favorite book. So, thank you, Kennedy Ryan, for blessing us with Before I Let Go. And then there's my love bug, Lisa Cross Smith. I said in January that this is going to be my year of Lisa Cross Smith. I want to celebrate this author that I think should be on everyone's minds, on everyone's bookshelves. And I am reading all of her books, including So We Can Glow. This is a collection of short stories by Lisa Cross Smith. This is the 3rd Lisa Cross Smith book that I've read. I read This Close to Okay earlier this year. Last year I read Half Blown Rose, which was one of my all-time favorite books ever. And this collection of short stories was just vivid, imaginary, rich, heartfelt, raw. I loved it. It's about women celebrating themselves, celebrating love, loving with abandon, being rebellious in that love, embracing that love, being a little naughty. It's just amazing. We have short stories about women from teenage girls to older women, and we have married women, we have divorced women, we have women who have been through abuse, we have women who are now mothers and seeing their daughters go through different love stories. It's so rich. The writing is exquisite. I loved it. I have to admit, it took me a while to get into these stories. It took about 40% of the way in for me to get with the flow of them. They're very distinct, very different, very nuanced. But boy, was it a gift to finally get immersed and lost in all of these stories. Lisa Cross Smith delivered yet again. The last book that I read in July. Oh my gosh, a middle grade novel that has just been released recently, and it's by Sharon G. Flake, titled Once in a Blue Moon. This middle grade novel is written in verse, and it's realistic fiction, well, with a little magical realism. And oh my gosh, it's inspired by her father, and I tell you what, I am still having this book living rent-free in my head because it was so moving. The characters were so multidimensional. we have James Henry and his twin sister Hattie, which my maternal grandmother's name is Hattie, so I was already in love just by his twin sister being named Hattie. And James Henry has experienced the unimaginable. And throughout the book, we're getting it pieced together. We're putting the pieces together of exactly what he experienced. And this experience has resulted in him being riddled with anxiety, afraid to leave his home. And so Hattie is going to school. James Henry is at home with his gran. His father is up north in Detroit trying to make money and do some other things to put the family back together, get the family back on track after this traumatic event. And so throughout the book, we're hearing from James Henry's point of view what it's like to be him after this event and how he wants to be brave again. He once was a brave, courageous child, and he wants to be brave again. And he needs the support and help of his sister, who is such a courageous, strong young woman, and a couple other friends, including these beautiful doves. And when I tell you, my heart was melting with each page. I got teary-eyed. The writing really brings these characters to life and makes us feel everything that James Henry feels. I am so excited that I got a chance to interview Sharon G. Flake, and you will be hearing and seeing more about that in the coming weeks on LaRosa Reads. I am still swept away by this book, and I can't wait to tell you more in the near future. Okay, I'm feeling a little vulnerable right now because I wanted to say so much more about these books, and I'm not sure that I was able to adequately express my feelings about each of them for whatever reason, but I hope you got the gist, and I hope I inspired you to pick some of these up. Please let me know in the comments below which books that I mentioned, stood out to you. Which ones are you thinking about reading or have already read? And if you want to know what I'm reading this month, check out my August TBR video right here. And until next time, happy reading. Bye.